chaos, shock, and a moment that blurred the line between performance and reality. At a California wrestling event, fans thought they were watching just another night of scripted drama, until Quinton, Rampage Jackson's son, Raja, stormed the ring. Within seconds, a respected veteran wrestler was lying motionless on the mat, the crowd fell silent, and social media exploded with one burning question: was this part of the show, or did everyone just witness a real-life assault unfold in front of their eyes? And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Rampage himself has now spoken out, admitting this was no storyline, and revealing disturbing details about his son's condition and the decisions that led to this moment. What really went wrong that night? And could it cost Raja Jackson not just his reputation, but another man's health, and possibly his entire career? The Knox Pro Wrestling event in California was supposed to be just another night of entertainment. The kind of show where storylines are scripted, fans cheer for their favorites, and the action stays inside the safe boundaries of performance. But on this night, before a single bell rang, the stage was already being set for disaster. Stuart Smith, known to fans as a Psycho Stu, was the man scheduled to compete. A U.S. Army veteran turned indie wrestling workhorse, Stu carried a reputation for toughness and discipline. For the crowd in attendance, his match was expected to be business as usual. But outside the ring, trouble was already brewing. Eyewitnesses claim that Raja Jackson, the 25-year-old son of UFC legend Quinton Rampage Jackson, had a heated encounter with Stu before the event. Some even say Smith struck Raja in the head during the exchange. And that detail matters, because Raja had reportedly suffered a concussion just days earlier in training. That meant he was already vulnerable, already unstable, and carrying that weight of frustration into the arena. What began as a routine show was about to spiral into something no fan, or wrestler, could have imagined. When the cameras finally went live on Kick, fans expected a night of theatrics. Instead, they got a moment that still has people replaying the footage in disbelief. Without warning, Raja Jackson stormed the ring. In a split second, he hoisted Psycho Stu high into the air and slammed him violently onto the canvas. The impact was so brutal that Stu appeared motionless almost immediately, his body collapsing flat against the mat. But Raja didn't stop there. He dropped down and unleashed a flurry of strikes, hammering away at a man who was already unconscious, or dangerously close to it. The energy inside the venue shifted in an instant. What began as cheers for chaos turned into horrified silence. Fans in the front rows covered their mouths. Commentators scrambled to explain what viewers around the world were seeing. And then came the panic. Wrestlers from backstage rushed into the ring, pulling Raja off as Stu lay still, lifeless, at the center of it all. Clips of the incident spread across social media within minutes. Some insisted it had to be a stunt. Others swore they had just watched a real-life assault unfold on a wrestling stage. But no matter what side of the debate fans took, one thing was clear: something had gone terribly wrong. In the hours that followed, confusion became the fuel that set the internet ablaze. Wrestling fans know the golden rule: is it real, or is it a work? But this time, the line between fiction and reality had never looked so blurred. Some insisted it was all part of the show, a storyline gone too far, designed to shock the audience and generate headlines. Others weren't buying it, pointing to the way Psycho Stu's body crumpled after the slam and how the other wrestlers rushed into the ring with genuine panic, not performance. The debate raged across social platforms, with clips replayed from every angle, each fan convinced they had cracked the truth. But what made matters worse was the silence. Knox Pro Wrestling, the promotion running the event, offered no immediate statement. There was no medical update on Stu, No clarification from officials, nothing to calm the storm. And in that vacuum, speculation only grew louder. Was this a staged confrontation that spiraled out of control? Or had Rampage Jackson, a man still recovering from a concussion, taken matters into his own hands in an unscripted act of retaliation? The mystery deepened with every passing hour, and fans were left demanding answers no one seemed willing to provide. It didn't take long for the man at the center of the Jackson legacy to break his silence. Quinton Rampage Jackson, UFC Hall of Famer, one of the most feared strikers in mixed martial arts history, and Raja's father, took to social media with a confession that stunned everyone following the story. Rampage confirmed what so many feared: this was no scripted stunt. There was no storyline, no backstage plot to shock the audience. What the world had witnessed was real. And in his own words, it was the result of bad judgment. He revealed that Raja had indeed suffered a concussion just days earlier in training, a serious injury that should have kept him away from any form of combat. Rampage admitted his son had no business being in that ring, and openly distanced himself from the decision that allowed him to step through the ropes. Even more shocking, Rampage suggested Raja wasn't even supposed to be involved in the event. He isn't a trained professional wrestler, he's an MMA fighter. The two worlds may both live in the fight business, but they are entirely different disciplines. And in Rampage's eyes, mixing them that night was a dangerous mistake. For fans used to seeing Rampage's larger-than-life bravado, the tone of his statement hit differently. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't excusing what happened. He sounded disappointed, both in the situation and in his son. A father's pride replaced by regret, as the consequences of Raja's actions began to ripple far beyond the ring. The fallout didn't just divide the audience, it split two entire fanbases. On one side, wrestling fans debated whether Raja's assault was a botched work or a full-blown shoot. In wrestling terms, a work means everything is planned, while a shoot means reality has broken through the performance. To many, the way Stu collapsed and the frantic scramble of wrestlers rushing to stop Raja looked far too real to be scripted. But in the MMA world, the reaction was even more complicated. Rampage Jackson isn't just another prospect, he carries the Jackson name. With 3 amateur and 2 professional fights under his belt, his career was already being judged under the shadow of his father's legacy. Now, instead of headlines about his fighting ability, Raja was trending for the wrong reasons: a violent outburst that had nothing to do with the cage. For MMA fans, the questions turned darker. If Raja can't control his emotions in a pro wrestling environment, a world built on theatrics and controlled chaos, what does that say about his discipline in the cage? Could he be trusted under the bright lights when the stakes are real and the rules are strict? Some supporters defended him, pointing to reports that Stu had struck Raja outside the venue earlier that evening. They argued he was provoked and simply acted on impulse when given the green light to step in the ring. But for critics, that explanation only made things worse. If Raja truly had a concussion, why was he even allowed near the action? And why would a young fighter gamble his entire career on a moment of revenge? The clash of opinions was fierce. Wrestling fans saw a scandal that blurred the line between showmanship and danger. MMA fans saw a potential career implosion before it had even begun. And at the center of it all was a 25-year-old fighter whose next move could determine whether he ever escapes his father's shadow, or drowns in it. If the chaos inside the ring wasn't enough, the aftermath quickly pulled bigger names into the storm. Knox Pro Wrestling, the promotion behind the event, isn't just some back-alley indie show. It's a respected training school with WWE recognition, an official pipeline where future stars sharpen their craft. That connection suddenly placed the world's largest wrestling company uncomfortably close to a scandal it never asked for. The silence from Knox Pro only fueled suspicion. No immediate press release, no medical update on Psycho Stu, not even a statement distancing themselves from Raja's actions. For an institution tied to WWE, that silence was deafening. It didn't take long before whispers began to spread. Was this a cover-up? Was Knox Pro trying to keep things quiet before the story spiraled into a full-blown PR disaster? Industry insiders were quick to point out the obvious red flag: Raja's concussion. If he really had been struck days before and was still showing symptoms, why was he anywhere near the ring? In the fight world, concussions are taken seriously. One wrong move, one more blow, and the consequences can be permanent. By allowing Raja to get involved, Knox Pro may have put not just him, but also Psycho Stu, in unnecessary danger. And then came the WWE angle. While the company had no direct involvement in the event, its indirect ties made it impossible to ignore. If the public connected the dots, unsafe stunts happening at a WWE-recognized school, the backlash could spread fast. For a billion-dollar brand constantly battling scrutiny over performer safety, even the appearance of negligence could be devastating. The question was no longer just about Rampage Jackson losing control. It was about whether Knox Pro, and by extension WWE, had failed both men in the ring that night. And if that failure proves true, the fallout could shake more than just an indie wrestling show. It could rock the entire wrestling pipeline. Beyond the viral clips and heated debates, the real risks from that night cut far deeper, and they're not going away anytime soon. The first concern is medical. Rampage Jackson had already suffered a concussion days earlier, an injury that demands rest and strict caution. Doctors warn that a second impact too soon can lead to catastrophic consequences, sometimes even permanent brain damage. By storming the ring, Raja not only endangered himself but also risked turning his opponent into collateral damage. For Stuart "Psycho Stu" Smith, the situation was just as dire. Slammed headfirst into the mat and left unconscious, his long-term health remains uncertain. Fans flooded his social media with prayers, but the lack of concrete updates only sharpened the sense of dread. Then there's the legal shadow hanging over everything. If evidence emerges that negligence played a role, such as officials knowingly letting an injured, untrained fighter step into the ring, the door opens for lawsuits. Civil action from Stu or even sanctions from athletic commissions could follow. In the eyes of the law, the blurred line between wrestling show and real violence doesn't matter. What matters is accountability. And perhaps the biggest casualty of all, reputation. Raja's career was still young, still fragile. Carrying the Jackson name meant opportunity, but also relentless scrutiny. Now, instead of headlines about his skill inside the cage, he's trending for an outburst that many see as reckless and dangerous. In combat sports, promoters don't just invest in talent, they invest in trust. And the image of Raja losing control in a WWE-affiliated ring could be the very thing that keeps future opportunities from ever arriving. One brutal night left scars that could take years to heal. And not all of them will fade.